I play Epistle, and I'm a... Wow.
Hey everybody, welcome to Lions Pride Tavern podcast number 82. Tonight we find out how we did in this weekend's continuing raid of Antorus the Burning Throne, and also last week's raid, plus the biggest news of all. But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Stafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up is JobUi.
Hi, I'm JobUi. I play a Worgen Fire Mage.
And Lorelei.
Hey, it's Lorelei, your Night Elf Arms Warrior.
And Epistle.
I am Epistle, and I play a Draenei Protection Paladin.
And Charity.
Well, hello there. I'm Charity, and I play a Draenei Restoration Shaman.
Draenei, I mean, how do you, tomato, I guess, right?
Drainy.
Every week.
Drainy? It's all right. It's okay. We like it. How is everybody this week?
Good.
And last week, how are you?
Pretty good. And was
I
then
know.
good too.
Tired from last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody. It was kind of a shock when I had one person say, "Okay, I'm not going to make it to the podcast." I'm like, "Oh, that's all right. The rest of us will handle it." And then another one went, "Yeah, I'm not going to make it because it's that time. It was Easter, so I get it." So we postponed it. It's not a big deal. We've done that before. So I hope the fans aren't too disappointed in us. I don't think so because our ratings were still up there. So that's pretty good.
And
Yeah.
we're back.
And we're back.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, they just, when you're away, the heart grows fonder. You just missed us, and now you see how much you need us in your lives every week.
Absolutely.
There you are.
Yeah, we actually had on our Discord channel for the Lions Pride Tavern, we actually had Heximus. He said he just wanted to stop in and say hi and tell us that he really enjoys our podcast. So
Awesome. Thank you.
And
Thanks,
we
Heximus.
really enjoy his comments.
We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yep, we do watch all of our avenues of social media, whether it be Facebook or Discord, and all those links are in our description below.
The live
So if-
streams.
Yep, the live streams. Yeah, if you guys, you want to get a hold of us, we do definitely watch it. We'll put it on the air or at least mention you. So yeah, 2 weeks, guys. We didn't. We haven't
weird.
talked in 2 weeks. I know, it's like, oh man, where'd it go?
Forever.
Well, to be fair, we got to raid with each other,
Well,
but we
yeah,
didn't get to talk about the raids.
Yeah, but that's like part of the raid for me now. It's like it's like the after show or the after party of the raid.
It is. It's
You
the
know?
after show.
It's
So
like
did
going on a
anybody-
date without dinner.
Oh, dang.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Yeah, I'm not,
Um,
I don't see the correlation there, but that's all right. It may be a Canadian thing. That's possible.
Yeah.
You go on foodless dates? Wow.
It's like ice
Yeah.
skating without brooms or something.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. You get it.
Well, okay, so I take my wife to the grocery store, and I consider that a date. We're not really eating, so does that count?
That's
No, grocery stores don't count.
Buy a chocolate bar on the way out.
like
That is
indoor
not a date.
indoor walk in the aisles. You can just take it all in.
Yeah, 22 years, and it's alone and away from the kids. That's a date. It doesn't matter where we're at.
Yeah, I can feel you on that to a
Yeah,
certain degree.
yeah.
And like recently I've been kind of tracking like how far I walk and stuff because as we're heading into spring, I'm trying to get a little bit more exercise. And I noticed that when I go to like the Mega Mart here in our town, I end up walking about a mile while I'm in there.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it is a bit of a hike,
See,
It's like a waltz.
I'm a typical guy. I know what I want before I go in. I know where it's at when I go in, or I go right to it, get what I want, and I want to leave. And my wife's very similar. She's not one of those that have to go up and down every aisle, so that's a good thing. So, but yeah, unless it's a hardware store.
Yeah, we
Then
do
it's
that
up
a
and down
little
every
bit.
aisle.
We do that a little bit. I mean, like the go into the store and grab stuff and go back out if we're needing just like one or two things. But every now and again, we just like to kind of stroll through and look around a little bit.
I only do it for ideas.
Sure.
Get ideas for something new.
Get
Like
inspired.
Yeah, well, the other day I was walking through one of the hardware stores, and I saw this float kit for a bowl, and I was like, oh my god, I should make an automatic dog watering bowl. So, because the kids never remember to go out and give the dogs water. So, we didn't. We just bought one. They already had one. Well, I mean, by the time you put all the pieces and parts together, I
Yeah.
bought one on Amazon cheaper.
Well, a lot of times that's the way it goes. You come up with a cool idea and you go, oh, I could make one of those. And then you start pricing out all the pieces that you would need to make it. And then you go, oh, somebody's already made one of those. And it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper.
Cheaper than building it yourself.
Yeah.
Although
But-
there are times when building it yourself is like a necessity. Like I designed and built my desk, and because they don't make a desk like mine. So
Right.
yeah.
Well,
No, I-
custom. That's
Yeah.
always good. Yeah. So anybody do anything exciting? My brother's 50th birthday was this last weekend, and I grilled 60 burgers
Wow. That's a
on
lot.
my
Wow.
barbecue grill that I have 4 burners and only 3 of them would work. I don't know what's wrong with the 4th one. I got to figure it out. But I started doing it. I was like, why isn't this one lit? Why is it cold? Took me forever.
Well, it might be cool because it was actually quite cold outside.
Actually,
Yeah, were you
it was
grilling in the snow?
between snowstorms.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Grill in
grilling
the snow up in
between
Canada all the time.
snowstorms.
Yeah, we've had like similar. We get a pretty similar weather between Stafford and my place, and
Yeah.
like we've had like these 50, 60-degree days, and then like a foot of snow.
Yeah.
It's literally back and forth,
All
spring.
the snow goes away, and it's like, I start to see. Nope, that's white. It's snow again.
Yeah.
You know, it's been depressing up here. It has not got that warm yet. So
Oh.
it was getting there. Spring was arriving. Everything was looking great. And then we got deep freeze, relatively speaking. It's not like midwinter deep freeze, but it was getting pretty cold to the point where we're not even sure kids are going to go outside for recesses. That's how cold it was getting here. In April, that's never happened.
I
So,
know. April
Yeah,
already.
I'd still use my barbecue
Oh,
anyway.
ours just faked us out. It's like, oh, it's so nice outside. Let's go outside. It's all sunny, and then the wind hits, and you're like, oh my god,
And it gets
Yeah.
it was
cold.
so cold. It was not funny. And I went and I did raids with my Pokemon group this weekend, and we're just standing out there freezing our butts off in the sunshine. It was so weird.
And you're South Carolina, right?
No, I'm in Missouri now.
Oh, Missouri. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're getting closer to our kind of weather.
Uh-huh. Not fun.
2
I'm a
words,
California
car
girl. Okay. Yeah, that's what we do. We had a couple EX raids and we did them in the car because it was pouring rain, but we did them. Gosh darn, I got that Mewtwo.
That's funny. Yeah. So anybody else do anything exciting?
I did the usual Sunday going to the movies thing.
I fixed a lot of plumbing in my house and put in a water softener. So there was that.
Oh, good for you.
Not really fun, but I kind of like that I have a water softener now.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
ripped out a couple walls and did some wiring changes. And yeah, fun? No. But things are working now.
Oh, you
Yeah.
just did a weekend project.
No, I did it as a week-long project because we had spring break. Spring, he says with air quotes.
So let me ask you. So when you were going to do the wall, I just got it because I go through this every time I do this. Because I've been in construction for, 30, 40 some years. So you go to the wall and it's, it's old sheetrock or it's plaster or whatever it is. And you're standing there with your hammer, that first swing. What goes through your mind?
You see, I did use a hammer. I actually figured out where the outlet was, where I wanted to put an outlet, where I thought the line should go. And so I very carefully cut out a piece of gyprock drywall, removed it, found out it wasn't the one I wanted, relocated where I thought it should be, found that it was what I wanted, did all the work from there, and then just put those pieces right back in and mudded them up. It was like it never happened.
Oh, I thought you tore out a wall. I'm sorry.
No, nothing that... Well, I was ripping down a whole bunch of sections of wall to try to get this thing rerouted. Then I kind of got lazy and found a more efficient way to do it.
Okay. Because see, the first thing that always goes through my mind when I've done demo is you get to go to swing the hammer back and you're like, are we sure we're ready to do this? Is this the right wall?
I was
And
just
you
like, woohoo, I
it.
hope I don't kill myself with an electrical thing and just smash it.
Oh, no,
I know that whenever I have to do any kind of demo stuff, I mark off the area that I need to demo, and then I put X's around in the area where I'm demoing, so that I know, like, if there's no X's there, I shouldn't be demoing that.
in case you
know.
get carried
And I'm
away.
thinking
Yeah.
it's right in Charity's wheelhouse too, right?
You know,
Mm.
well, I just
No?
don't want to. I don't want to like destroy stuff. I hear they do that with like surgeries too. They like write on the person's like
They
if they have to
do.
do like amputate somebody's arm or something, they write on the other arm, keep this arm, don't touch this arm, and stuff like that, so they don't do the wrong one.
That would be bad. Yes.
Yes.
That would be bad.
I would be
I'd love
paranoid
to take
about
a
that
hammer
sort
to
of
my
thing.
walls. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, good idea. Rent a
Next
cheap one if
weekend's
you need a big
remodel
one.
project show is about.
Just gotta watch the dust.
Oh yeah.
We're remodeling the mage hall this week. No,
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Too funny. Too funny.
I am going to be working on the enhancement and the elemental challenges for Mage Tower this week. So I'll be live streaming that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I know. Oh God, I don't remember if it was. I think it was Mommy. She was trying to do one of the towers, and
Yeah,
oh man, she was cussing up a storm. You should have heard her.
it's tough, man. Even with our good gear, you still got to be
Yeah,
on point
still
with
can't
them.
get through some of those.
Yep. Yeah, she was not having fun. And I was
Nope,
like, "What did
it's
I
not
do?
my favorite thing
Did
to
I
do
do
at all."
something wrong? Do I have to sleep on the couch again tonight, honey?" Oh, you're playing WoW. Okay, don't worry about it. All right. All right. Well, speaking of WoW, let's talk about Jobui. Can you back up far enough to get the week before?
Yeah,
Go
I
through
have a
that?
general idea of how we did the week before.
Okay,
It's
I brought
probably,
the logs up, so
it's a
I can
little
help you
bit.
out.
Yeah, my memory's a little bit vague about the week before. However, if memory serves, on our Friday night raid, this was not this week but the previous week, we had a record night. We had switched to where we were just doing Argus the Unmaker on normal and then going through, and I believe on that night we got all the way through Imnar.
High command.
It was it High Command?
Yep, we got. Yep.
Because that was this week.
We
But I-
did the same thing. Yeah, we did Guidotti, Fellhounds, Portal Keeper, ENR, and High Command all on Friday.
See, I could have swore we got through Imnar on
I
the
thought so
first night.
too, but memory.
Yeah, and then we came back and we did on that one. I thought we did. Then we did after Imnar. We came back. We did Kilrathi, and then or Kingaroth, and then we did Varamathras, and then we spent the rest of the night on Coven on that week. But we did. I mean, we went after Coven that week ultimately on their second night, and we spent more than half the raid. Struggling against Coven. I think our best pull on that was down to about 50%, 51% or something like that. It was, it was a learning experience. So that was 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
and then this raid, this week's raid, we went on Friday night. We made it all the way through Antoran High Command. We did change up our order a little bit, and we
Yeah.
struggled a bit on Portal Keeper. We had 3 wipes on Portal Keeper on that night. Finished off on High Command. And then the next night we came back, and we had kind of a rough second night where we had a couple of wipes on Iminar. We went on to Kingaroth. We had 4 wipes on Kingaroth. We went after Varamathras. We had 3 wipes on Varamathras. And then we got one last minute ditch effort, blow through the trash as fast as we could, get to the boss, set up quickly, barely do any kind of talk about it at all, and then just pull the boss and take a quick gander at it on Agramar before we finished up for the night. But
yeah, according to logs, we pulled at 8:40.
Yeah, it was
8:45.
right. Yeah, it was literally with 5 minutes to go, and it's I think that's like an 8-minute fight. So
Well, we lasted 2 minutes.
we did, but we didn't have a lot of explanation, and one of the tanks got booted off the platform like pretty quickly, and so things just went south from there, obviously. But it was still nice to get there and get a look at it. Now, the reason we were on Agramar instead of going on to Coven is that after, looking at the Coven fight, and I've heard this from numerous other raid groups and from lots of other people, that Coven is the worst fight in the entire raid. It's just simply the one that most groups struggle on. Even groups that farm it still run into trouble with that one sometimes. And so I went, and I had been pugging out Agramar and Argus kills for the past few weeks, and I got the quest completed so that when we get there, the gate opens and we can bypass it. We can bypass Coven, that is. Now, just for our listeners out there, just to let you know, apparently the way that works, by the way, is, I didn't have the lockout, or if my lockout was different than the rest of the raids because I had already killed Argus and Agramar for that week. So the Mommy Fortuna walked in first, and so she had the lockout set. But if you have that quest complete, you want to open that door, you have to actually walk through the portal into the raid. If you get summoned into the raid, the door won't open apparently. So you have to walk through the gateway into the raid, and then once you're inside, just make your way to the rest of the group. In fact, you could be summoned to the group, but you have to physically go through the entry into the raid in order to unlock that door. So we're going to kind of continue to do that. By the way, we're going to keep skipping Coven and start working on Agramar and Argus the Unmaker, get those down, and we'll go back to Coven and take that out once we start getting those ones down.
Well, yeah, because I want to say, even though I really like Coven, 5 wipes, that wasn't not fun at all. We literally spent 45 minutes on Coven.
No, we spent more than that the week before last. I thought we spent like an hour and 15 minutes on Coven.
Well, we had 5 wipes. We went from 7:58 to 8:34 on our wipes. So, but that may be the end of the 7:58. I don't know if it's the beginning of the fight or the end of the fight that it times it, but according to logs.
Is that over our break?
I think didn't we start Coven right after our break?
No, I thought we started it before our break, actually. Because we one-shotted straight through all the way to Coven. And then we were on Coven for the rest of the night. It was a long time that we spent on Coven.
I do think that we weren't one-shotting. Maybe there's other reasons that I wasn't accounting for, but it felt like it was just sort of sluggish. It felt like somehow the game was off, and
you mean
there was like a
this
delay.
Week?
Yeah, this last week. It just seemed really kind of sluggish. Time delays, like something was going on funky with the server. So taunting off would sometimes come up slower, and that'll kill you on Baramathras. And it just seemed that everyone was responding slower. So either we were all in, frozen brain mode, or maybe something was
They
a
said
little
that
amiss.
there were problems going on with the servers, so everything was a little delayed. A lot of people were talking about it in trade chat too.
Yeah, and that was
that would
on
certainly make a difference.
Or general chat, sorry.
Yeah, that was the second night.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it was. It was pretty unusual amount of wiping on that, especially on the Kingaroth fight, which we seem to have gotten down pretty well lately. But even on that one, I noticed what he's talking about, because at one point, the hand came up, because it's going to be the beam, and I went to go run, and normally you have a good amount of time to get out from the way of the beam, and the hand came up, and then it almost immediately fired at me, and I blinked out of it, and I survived, but I was like, whoa,
and everybody was getting caught by the stuff on the floor, so it felt like nobody was moving fast enough, so the amount of time they usually have to move must have been off.
Well, we were down 1 healer then, weren't we?
Well, yeah, we only had 4 healers, and Amia seemed to have a lot of trouble. she must have kept getting hit with something. And so we were running 3 healers most of the time. And then a couple, like I think one time Faye went down first. So it's so hard to run 4 healers because that one death or one healer more, it helps cushion that blow. And in that fight on heroic, when those ads are up, there's so much AoE going out on top of the fact that everybody needs to stay out of stuff because we have constant raid damage going out, and it's just so rough.
Well, and it felt to me like on Vermathras, that's where I knew something was going funky because Darg and I taunt off each other. There's no problems. But a couple times I took damage from the boss when I shouldn't have. And normally he's taunted right off me and vice versa. So it's, all things being equal, unless both of us were also off our game simultaneously, that really showed up in that fight.
Sure. And I just, hopefully next week it goes smoother. We don't normally run into a lot of issues with server problems like that. I mean, we have in the past run into server issues here and there.
Well, yeah, so the fans know, Mommy Fortuna, me, and Durag, our other tank, we're all in the same house because that's my wife and my son. And if our internet goes down, yeah, there's 2 DPS and the main tank, that just disappear.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we were, but hopefully next week, we get good clean servers and everybody focuses in and all that, and we get a little further. I'm looking forward to working on the Argus the Agrimar and Argus fights. I think we'll get those down fairly quickly. I don't think it's going to be a real struggle.
You think so?
Not as long as everybody shows up. And by shows up, I mean like they're there and their head's in the game, kind of thing. And they're really focusing in. The other thing is it might have a little bit to do with makeup because especially in the Agrimar fight, there is an enormous amount of outgoing damage that comes out. So we're going to need like an extra heal on that fight. So if we're a little short on heals that night, it might be tougher to get through it. But we've got all the CCs that we need for that fight. I've written up a weak aura to help with managing when to bring in the next ads. It's a manageable fight. Okay. There's not a lot of RNG to it. So I think we can handle that. And the Argus fight is the same fight that we're used to. And as long as everybody's on their game with that fight, and it's just a little faster, it hits a little harder, and there's a couple of minor differences. And I don't see us having a huge amount of trouble with those two.
Well, as long as the servers are behaving, because that was another thing that showed us we had a problem because we were doing our normal tank swap and Durag got further back. He got either knocked back further or just couldn't run up fast enough to make the change that he needed to, which ended up killing me, and then he got knocked back. So it was, I think it was a delay issue there, just that extra second or so that normally we're on top of, but weren't this time.
Yeah. So is there any one particular thing you guys want to talk about for any of the fights that we saw? I mean, you got to understand, a lot of our problems that we may end up having is because we don't have the same raid composition every single time. We get some people that can only raid on Saturday and some can't on Friday, so it's that's always a difficulty. But beyond that, is there anything that we think we need to clean up on any of these fights?
Well, I mean, there is still the occasional person dropping the Soul Blight in the middle of the group on the Argus the Unmaker fight. And while we are, we're more likely to survive that or have more people survive that in normal. On heroic, it's likely to take a few people out, and we really can't afford the DPS loss on that. I think we need to sharpen up our game on that and really practice that while we're doing the Argus the Unmaker fight. Just really, make sure we're like executing very, very well on that. So when we do get to it on heroic, it'll be that much easier. But
yeah,
beyond that,
that's true. Well, Iminar, second bridge, that still needs some cleaning up. Although it looked like we had 3 red beams crossing the path, and there was no way around it that I could see.
4.
Maybe we could have gone. Was it 4? Okay,
Yeah.
so we could have gone right. I couldn't see that we could go right or left either and make that work. So it looked like some pretty bad luck on that one.
I mean, we've had
Yeah.
a lot of bad RNG, but I feel like our reaction times as a whole group, we need to really work on our reacting to things and staying out of things, period. And reacting to raid mechanics.
Yeah, that I agree there. I think part of that, I think part of that is a little bit of complacency. With some of the fights, like players are starting to get a little more used to them, and so they're getting a little bit more lazy. They're chit-chatting, maybe not paying as close of attention as they should sometimes. Not all the
They're
time.
getting comfortable, and they can't on these fights because they're so RNG-ish that you never know what you're going to get, and things could go off, and it could be in your face, it could be across the room, and you just always need to be ready. And that's the good thing and the bad thing about the fights is that you can't get comfortable.
Right.
Yeah, kind of like this clip here, where Shepard gets too close to the doggies.
He's like running along the path way over on the far side.
That's gonna be in the podcast, I'm sure. That was awesome.
You'll never live that down.
Nope.
Thanks for that.
Great moment.
If you want to see that hall raid, though, you can always go to www.twitch.tv/lovesweetcharity.
Yep, it's there. Where she seems afraid of the dog at that point. Really.
I was not ready.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. But yeah, I think there's a few points, where we could tighten it up. And I think that, it's mostly just, I think because our players are pretty good for the most part. I mean, we all make mistakes, of course, but when they're really focused, they're into it and they do a good job. And sometimes when they're kind of like more standing around the water
3
cooler,
glasses of wine's in.
yeah, if there's 6 shots to the wind, their reaction times tend to slow down a little bit. So, and but it's just I think it's a focus thing.
Yeah.
For the most
I
part.
agree with the talking, especially when the fight starts. There's just like nonstop talking, and I know the tanks have to be able to hear each other, and sometimes we do too. We need to know. I know for DPS, I want to know where the tanks are going, or if I have to make a shift, if they have to move for some reason, and you can't hear that. So I think if people, because I'm not sure, I do a push to talk, so I'm like, are people just using just voice activated, because I can't see them doing what they're supposed to be doing and talking at the same time.
Yeah, I think most everybody is using push to talk at this point. There might be some people who are using voice activation. I know that I personally keep my push to talk button on the side of my mouse, so it's
so it's easy to use.
Yeah, it's the least intrusive I can do
it
as far as
hinder me.
while I'm going. I actually sometimes I wish I didn't need a push to talk button because I'd like to assign another ability to that button, but ultimately I need it for push to talk. But yeah, I agree.
Nobody wants to hear everything in their house,
No, and
Yeah, it's because I know we have good people who call things, and I think people aren't listening to those people.
Yeah, I think sometimes you're absolutely right. There are times when we have to literally say, "Hey, cut the chatter," because we're in the middle of like tough parts of the fight, and then people are just joking and stuff, and the joking and chit chat really should be for while we're doing trash.
Yeah.
That's while we're on the way to the boss. But once the fight starts, we should try and keep the channel clear, and maybe we just got to remind folks of that. Like, hey, let's keep the channel clear for that. I also would love to tamp down the death monologues. That's something that we should tamp down.
about that before.
I was gonna say that's when people seem to be most chatty.
Yeah.
Somebody dies and they want to explain how it happened or why, and the rest of us are all like,
yeah,
just
because they're
you just lie there
embarrassed and they
quietly
want
for
to
a while.
explain. Yeah.
And honestly, in the middle of the fight, I don't care how you died. You're dead. If we need to res you, we will. But just be dead. And dead people don't talk. So, like just lay there and be dead. You could tell us you're dead. You could be like,
Because that's always
JoBui's
a good
down.
thing. Yeah, that's always a good thing.
But that's all I want to hear, really. It's just
Yeah.
like JoBui's down or Lorelei's down, kind
I
of thing,
just
or
said
whatever.
sorry, and I go look on Pinterest.
Or
Yeah.
should we get a healer
Hit
up?
that
Right?
bomb.
That's a good
Did
call.
not mean to. Sorry.
Well,
Yes.
and that's the chat I always like is when because I'm just as vested as a DPS as a raid leader in doing good DPS, so I'm concentrating, and I don't necessarily see all the people that die and how many battle reses we have. My wife's really good about going, she just yells down from up above, not in chat, but we have two battle reses, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, and I don't like. There are times when I'm tunneled in on what I'm supposed to be doing in the raid, not like tunneling like, oh, I'm just blasting the boss and not doing mechanics. I mean like tunneling, like focusing on that, and I'm not looking at my raid frames, and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing really good, and I look over and like 80% of the raid is dead, and I'm like, what the heck, guys? How'd you all die? Kind of thing. But
I will do that in Verimathras. That's where I kind of tunnel.
yeah, but you can't, players really in general, even as a raid leader, I mean, yeah, we want to call things out for players, but that really takes a dip into our performance in as a member of the group. Like I notice on fights, if I have a fight where I don't have to say anything or I don't have to watch anybody, and it's not even like that I have to say anything, it's in the fights where I don't feel like I need to watch everybody, to see if they're stepping off to mess something up, I do much better on those fights and contribute more to the group as far as from a DPS role. But it's really distracting. So the more players are the more that they're better at what they're doing, and the less that we have to pay attention to what they're doing and call things out for them, the easier it is for us to actually play, because then we're watching our mechanics and their mechanics, which is more difficult than just watching our own.
it can be, yeah. I mean, there are times when I need to say something, but yet the mechanics are going, so strong I can't get it out, and then by then it's too late. But
Yeah, I think in those instances, I really screw my rotation up pretty badly. Like I just start hitting buttons while I'm talking.
yes,
Yeah.
I am guilty of that one. I look down and I'm like, oh, it's on cooldown, and I'm still hitting it.
Well,
Yeah.
and thinking about that way, like that's why that bridge is so difficult as a healer, because I have to do my job and everybody's not doing their job. So I'm stopping to heal them and I end up farther and farther behind trying to keep everybody alive. So sometimes it's just easier to let them die, because
now
at
keep in
least I
mind-
get across the thing,
Sure, and there are people that are like stepping on stuff they shouldn't occasionally, but also keep in mind that there is like a raid-wide damage that's going out that whole time.
Oh yeah, I know.
And
but
that's not them
When
messing up.
people
That's just
blow up,
right.
it's just like I can usually heal through just the AoE damage,
Right.
but because I'll go to the side, heal, and then I'll walk, stop, wait for the thing to go by, heal, and I can usually get people up through that. But if we start exploding too, it's just like, well, I mean, there's no point now, because now I'm gonna die.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple times somebody running into a mine beside me, freezing just as the ball's getting there, and thinking, that's just a bad combination.
Yep,
Yeah.
and you just get rolled over.
Yeah, and one of the polls we did on that, I somehow managed to get out ahead of pretty much everybody else, and so I didn't have anybody, like I didn't have any other tunes on top of me, because I'll say that it was a lot easier for me to navigate between all those little obstacles when I didn't have like 6 other tunes twitching all around me. So it does make it difficult to see. All right, are my feet going to touch that? Am I going to touch that thing? So like when it's clear, it's a little easier to see, but you can't count on that because we kind of have to move with everybody else. So
Now you know why the tanks want to be in front.
yeah, I can
Clear
understand that.
path.
I made it all the way across, didn't touch anything, and I felt like it went really smooth, and I got all the way over there, and I look across the bridge, and everybody's still making their way across. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, well, that seemed easier. Maybe if we just had our own bridges, each one of us.
Hmm
See, I get that way when we stack. I have got to be able to see my toon, and when we stack on top of each other, it annoys the hell out of me. I have
Yeah.
to I have to be the one that steps to the back just a little bit or to the side just so I can see my toon. Because if it's in the middle of a thick group of people, no, I can't do it.
Well, and you have sometimes a very fine line you have to walk between that you can do, but if there's overlapping tunes, then you lose track of where you are, and then you're really in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I personally, in those situations where we're stacked up, I don't like it either, because I like looking at my toon as he's casting to get visual cues about what's happening with my character.
Yes.
And when I don't get those visual cues, then I have to rely entirely on watching my cast bar, and I don't like watching my cast bar so much as I like watching my toon.
Right? Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm the same way. So predictions then. I'm actually at a kind of a hard place here on where I think we're going to end up next weekend. But how far do you think we're going to make it next weekend, JobUui?
All right. This is
Obviously
under
skipping Coven. Yeah.
Right, the skipping Coven, but this is under the assumption that we get, like a good composition as far as like numbers of healers and stuff like that. And we have most of our normal folks there. I'm gonna say 4 pulls on Agrimar next week as we get used to it, and if we get him down in one of those 4 pulls, maybe a pull on Argus in Heroic.
Okay.
But I would say, like, if we have trouble on Agrimar, I think we might have about enough time for about 4 pulls if everything goes well.
All right, fair enough. Lorelei?
I agree with JobUui. I think we'll get Agrimar down on Saturday, and I think we will get maybe 1 or 2 attempts on Argus.
Yeah, all right. A little more. Yeah, okay. Pistol?
I think Agrimar will go down on our last pull on Saturday night with only 10 people left alive and one of them being a tank.
Oh my
All right.
god.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. Charity.
Hey, if
better
we're being
than-
specific.
better than a pistol.
So I guess I'm going to be the negative Nancy this week, and I feel like we have been having trouble with the bosses we're used to killing, and I think that we're probably going to get some hits in on him on
Agrimar.
Agrimar, but I don't think we're going to have enough time to get into it enough to get it down, because we've had a lot of trouble with people showing up and comp, and people are just standing in things because they're used to the fight. I think we really need to work on all those things. And like you guys said, I think we need to go, hey, okay guys, we need to work on our chatter when everybody starts chattering, and we need to focus.
I think if we cut down on how much time we take once we get to a boss before we attack a boss, I think we'll get much farther.
That'll definitely help.
Because I've been timing some of that, and sometimes it's getting on, almost 10 minutes before we attack a boss.
Yeah, everybody's lottie-dying back.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm gonna talk to the tanks about that, because I'm not sure if it's, because I've talked to the tanks before about keeping the pace, and I'm wondering if he's, and I'm talking about Durag here specifically, if he's waiting because everybody's chatting and he doesn't want to interrupt, or
I don't think so offhand, because I normally like to pull as fast as I can and keep it moving quickly. I think we've been moving slightly slower, but if you're to say what I think was the reason for our delays, I think it's mostly people aren't there. We're stopping to summon. We're waiting for we must have had 3 people summon in late this last raid.
And
I think
yeah,
that's really slowing us down.
And that's one of the things I noticed. Like, we've started to raid a little later each time. Now, last night, Saturday, wasn't too bad. We didn't start right at quarter till. We started like 10 till, but we still had, I think it was 2 other people that got portaled in after that. Now, I get it. Some of these people work and their raid night corresponds right when we're trying to start. We just had to pick a raid time, and I get that, but, and they are some key raid players. So it's not like, we don't want them, to say, hey, at quarter till, if you're not here, you're not coming in, because like last night, we would never have made it as far as we did if our another healer hadn't have showed up, because we didn't have enough heals.
Yeah, that's not really the problem, because we usually have a lock who can get them in quick.
Right.
It's still people going like, oh, I need to go get this, and oh, I need to go get that, and once I've done it, oh, now I need to go here and I need to go there. If
Yeah.
you haven't done it by the time raid has started, you don't need to do it until the
Yeah,
raid's over.
like badges, people are going for their extra
Badges and
badges, and I'm thinking,
chants,
no,
this,
that's
I
not
gotta
good.
check that, I gotta send something
Well,
from
that's
another
why
team.
you should be logging in 30 minutes before raid, not at raid.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
like you're saying. There's some folks that are getting there a little bit late or getting there right at raid time or whatever. Now, if you're one of those people, you know, like personally, what I usually try and do, and I've fallen victim to forgetting things occasionally. Like, you know, I forgot to grab my seals before this week's raid, but we already had the summoning stone up, and it took me like 30 seconds to get it, and I just said, "Hey, resummon me. I'm going to go get my things." And
Right.
This was
But
before
we were
raid
still,
start, actually.
We were still 15 minutes before raid started when you did
Right.
that.
Yeah, but it's still like I try and go out the day before and I buy my flasks. I make sure I've got food prepared for myself if I'm going to eat my own food as opposed to the feast food. I get my pre-pots, you know, I make sure I've got all of those, or my potions ready, so I've got potions and flasks and food and I'm ready to go. And I'm, you know, and now I'm parking my tune outside of the raid entrance so that I can walk in, at least on the second night. You know, I'm doing this ahead of time, you know, like the day before or the afternoon before if I have an opportunity to do it then, just so that I'm raid ready when it comes time to raid. I mean, and I even see sometimes, and granted, we usually put down a cauldron, but I've seen some raiders not even using the cauldron flask, or if they use the cauldron flask, then the second half of the raid, they just go with no flask. And, you know, I don't see that as being raid ready. I see that, you know, like that's, you know, if you're going to go do an LFR, sure, I don't care. You know, you're going to do an LFR, don't take a flask or anything, or use some sort of, like, you know, you could use a repurposed fel focuser or something. But when we're raiding, I expect everybody to be flasked, you know, period. You know, it shouldn't be oh, I didn't get one. Well, then you didn't get raid ready.
Yep. And we've talked about raiding etiquette before. Maybe we'll do another episode on that, because, yeah, it's about time we bring that back up again and talk about it. And that'll give our fans a little chance to throw in their little tidbits. So if you guys know of any raid etiquette tidbits that you think should be mentioned on air, that maybe your raid group is doing and should change up, or maybe they're doing something that would help us out, please give us, you know, put it in the comments and let us know. Plus, you know, let us know if there's any special little, and I'm speaking to our number one fan, Lilith Alou, because she's always giving us great tips on heroic Agrimar. You know, I don't know if we're gonna have problems, a lot of problems with Agrimar, but Agrimar and Argus, you know, I don't want to hear about Coven, because we've all decided as a team we're just gonna skip Coven. My ladies can wait till we'll go back to her.
Right.
But we want to get Argus down so we get our
AOTC.
AOTC, yeah.
Yeah, but beyond that too, I think it'll be nice with us being able to bypass Coven, and we'll go do Agrimar and Argus and Heroic. And once I think we start doing Argus and Heroic, like on a weekly basis, I think we stop doing normal.
Yes,
maybe even
absolutely.
stop doing normal ahead of that time even.
Yeah.
But I don't want to stop too early, because I want people to keep doing it to keep sharp for that fight.
Well, not only that, but I don't know that everybody has got all of their
no, they don't.
Their trinkets upgraded, because you have to get a trinket first before you can upgrade it. I think everybody's got trinkets.
Yeah, I think they do. I don't know of anybody who's still waiting on a trinket. I think we just had a few people that were they were a few weeks or maybe 3-4 weeks away from getting it up to 1,000.
Yeah, I was 2, and mine's done now. And I think there was one person that I remember when we did a count for that, they said, you know, they put up the number 3 because they were 3 away.
Right.
So this week should have looking at everybody having their trinkets upgraded. but we haven't done it in a while. We need to check this coming week on
Yeah.
see if anybody's gotten the legendary trinket.
No one's gotten that. No
Yeah.
one.
Does anybody know of anybody who's actually got it? I mean, be outside of our raid group?
No.
Does it really exist?
I know,
It
that's
does.
what I'm going for.
I have seen it on one character. I inspected a mage that I was in a pug group with, and he or she, I don't know what it was necessarily, had the legendary trinket. That's the only time I've seen it in the game at all, or heard of anybody having it. Was I saw it on one mage.
See, I thought it was going to be a little more accessible, but I mean, we've gone through since they announced, and
I think
nobody's gotten it.
No, I think the problem is that it has about the same amount of chance to drop as any other legendary, and it can only drop off of one particular boss.
All right, but last night our odds were, this last Saturday, we had 4 drop?
Yeah, but that's different. Those are the regular legendaries. This is this exclusive legendary that only drops off of one boss. So all of us are
It's
getting
like
one chance every
the
week.
Yeah, that's true,
chance
yeah.
Of this certain legendary dropping. That's like
Yeah.
saying all my legendaries, this one dropping. It's that chance.
Yeah, like I even got a legendary on the Argus fight, but what it gave me was a token for one of my other tunes. It didn't give me the legendary trinket.
Oh, nice.
It gave because I have all the legendaries for mages, and so it just gives me a token for a legendary for random other tune, kind of thing.
Now,
And-
did it pick the class or
Oh,
was
it
that
picks the
separate?
class.
It does. Okay.
Yeah, like you'll get one that is for a monk or for a DK or paladin or whatever, and then you just hand it off to that particular tune if you have one. And I have heard like it doesn't have to be a 110 tune. A friend of mine got one of those tokens, and it was for, I think, for his warlock or something like that. And his warlock was only like level 14. So it's going to be a while till he can actually hand it off to his warlock.
Oh, yeah. He could hand it off, but he couldn't use it.
Right. Yeah, because you can't use it until you get to 101, I think.
Was it bind on account or was it BattleNet account? Do you know?
They are. It's bind on account, I
Yeah,
think.
okay.
So I think you can send it to wherever, but it's just, it's just one of your other tunes. You just mail it off. That's
Yeah.
what I do.
I have a thought too on this and on taking Argus on normal, and that is that one could argue that if we only have 1 or 2 people who need the upgrade, there's no real benefit to the raid overall to upgrading anymore. I think we should do the fight anyways because I enjoy it and I like the mechanics and I want to keep fresh on it until we're doing it heroic. But I'm not sure we really have a need to do it anymore.
No, I don't think there's a need, and I agree with you wholeheartedly there, but I wholeheartedly agree with JobUi. We need to keep doing it just for the practice. Because, I'm sorry, even this last time, we still had somebody drop the black pools right in the middle of the group.
That was ugly.
And
but-
we have
And
a
we
hard
even
enough
talked about it
time.
before we started. So,
Yeah. And that's been an ongoing problem, is that people are not super sharp. We are getting sharper with dropping the buffs near the group and to the side. That's getting a lot better. And that needs to be better in heroic or in the heroic version. The buffs don't last as long, so you have to get them very quickly if you want them to stack up. And you do want them to stack up in heroic because we need that extra damage.
yeah, and I think what we need to do, because I've noticed it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, it's okay.
one of the things I did want to bring up was sometimes those buffs get reversed. So I think what we need to do is come up with some tricky little catchphrase of saying like, this particular one forward, or up front or whatever, to get that stuck in their head. Because I've done that twice now where they've reversed it and I didn't even look. I just ran over and grabbed it and it was the other buff. I mean, not that it didn't help me, but it reset my buff.
Yeah.
So I think if we
the
just
one-
came up, instead of mentioning both names, just mention one always up front. And that might trigger people. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I can
You
see
know,
that.
I
you
think
follow what I'm
that's
saying?
going to be more trouble than it's worth. I think it's easier just to look and see, oh, that one's that
Well,
one. and
but
I need to
why
go
are
and do
we
that.
getting a reverse then? We
Well-
shouldn't be getting a reversed if they're
Well,
thinking that
no,
way.
it's just that we haven't really given them a prescribed always put the electric one in the front and the white one, which I believe is the C one, in the back. We've just said, get these out to the side and get them in this sort of position, and then go to the one that you want. Now, ideally, what players want to do in that situation is, and this is really good practice for heroic, is, okay, so you see the two players run out to the side with the buff. Don't stand there and wait for the buff to drop before you go over and get it, because you could see a little bit which buff they're going to get, above their head before it drops. It's sitting there. You can see it's got the little electricity blue thing on there, or it's got like the white ball above their head. Go stand on that player. Like when you see the player like run off to the side, if they've got the electric on above their head and that's the one you want, go over there and stand on that player. And then the ball drops and it drops right on top of you and that other player. You get it immediately and then go right back into your original position. That's how that should be handled. It shouldn't be wait for it to drop, then run over and get your buff and then go back. It should be player moved out, go get in position with that player, get your buff, now move back to the regular position. That'd be the ideal way to do it.
Okay. Well, it was just a thought.
Sure. I don't know that it's necessarily going to help us to say, okay, always the electric one in the front. I'd rather them just make sure that they're off to the side and well positioned, and then we just pay attention to the one that we want and go stand on that one.
Well, I was just thinking for heroic, you're saying it's a shorter time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
the buff, and it's basically the buff in normal lasts for 60 seconds. So you have a lot of time to grab the next one. In heroic, the buff lasts for 30 seconds. So the buff is going to drop off you shortly after the next buff comes out. So you need to be in position ready to grab it so that it starts stacking for the next one. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. Well, I hear the music. It's time for Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hey everyone, the alpha's live and there's some interesting new things going on. Reports are out that there are a handful of new pets that belong to subfamily categories. It appears that the old family categories still exist, but these new pets will be unique and have extra passive abilities that we haven't seen before. No one's sure yet how these new categories will work, but it's a very interesting change. Check out Warcraft Pets News to see some of these new pets. The new subfamilies are Dark Magic. These pets are dark and scary versions of the Crossgazer sold in the Antoran Wastes and the Court Scribe book from Court of Ferondis rep. Fantastical Beasts look new and currently feature a platypus-type pet and a Mayan-looking snake. Flightless flying pets look like remakes of Fengu and the Draenor peahen, symbolically cursing above their heads to show their displeasure at their ground status. Biomechanical pets look like some bored engineers got hold of foxes and kitty cats and added bionic parts. Probably the most funny and strange group are the naked humanoids. Yep, they're naked. We'll be treated to the lewd lich and flashy Fred, who may not be PG folks. I don't know. His picture has a bar across him, so I don't know what's going to be there when they take that bar off. But lastly are the antlered, and these look like regular critters that have suddenly sprouted antlers. Looks like BFA is going to be an interesting place to pet battle, so save up your pet charms, which I've heard may be getting a change as well, and level up everything you can. And I'll see you in the new expansion.
Very good. And then there's
Getting Deeps with JobUI.
There is one hard and fast rule that applies to every single player in the game, not just DPS. You have to be in it to win it. And what I mean by that is if you're dead, you're not helping. Unless you're in that one phase, or unless you're in that one phase in the Argus the Unmaker fight that actually has something useful for the dead people to do. However, in every other encounter, you need to stay alive in order to be an active participant in your team's success. So here are a few things you can do to help stay up on 2 feet, hooves, paws, whatever. 1, rely on the healers because that's their job or something. No, not really. But it is a good idea to make sure you stay in range of the healers. 2, stop standing in the fire. Get an add-on like GTFO to make annoying noises at you when you're standing in the fire, and you'll stop standing in the fire so often. 3. If there is a mechanic about to go off on you and you're in the middle of a long cast, move anyway. If you're dead because you stood until the mechanic went off to finish that cast, you can't help anymore. 4. Similarly, if you're melee and there's a mechanic that's going to do some damage to you, but avoiding it will take you out of melee range, do it anyway. It's better that you stop DPSing for a few moments than you stop DPSing entirely because you're dead. 5. Use those defensive cooldowns. We all have 1, 2, 3, or more of them, so use them. Oh, and use Warlock cookies or healing potions too. 6. Finally, study up on the fights. You'll be doing more. The more you know about the fights, the more prepared you'll be for the mechanics that are trying to kill you. So, be in it to win it, and keep getting those deeps, or heals, or whatever it is tanks do.
Oh,
of
you were
tanks-
gonna get it, JoeBui. When you said that, I was about to go off. Rely on the healers.
Yeah, he knew that was why he put it in there.
Yeah, because that's
You
what you
wanted
do.
the shepherd alarm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that every healer that was out there was like, what? Some
Yeah,
DPS to say rely on the healers. Well,
Well, no,
I'm not
I
healing
was
them anymore.
bandaging Saturday night pretty hard.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Lorelai. That was
No,
rough.
No, that's
that
fine.
was that was because we didn't have enough healers, and we knew that going into it. We had one coming, he just hadn't shown up, but we knew
Once
it was
he
going to be rough,
did, it was so much better.
right?
Yes, it was.
and we even had instances where, I mean, there was a little bit of frustration in our last raid. We even had people like, we were like, all right, res this person, and that person was stalking around the room being mad
Yeah,
because
that
they
was
died.
Funny.
And they were like, okay, res somebody else. And then that a couple minutes later, that person was like, oh, I got a res. And so they took their res and we're like, okay, we're all out of reses. Yay.
Yeah, that was funny when he comes back. Sorry, I got mad and I stepped away and was
He was
shouting and
so
screaming.
angry. I heard him banging around up there.
Yeah, but just seriously though, I mean, it's a good rule for everyone. Just use everything you can to keep yourself alive. Because you really do have to be in it to win it.
That's
So if you're dead, you can't DPS, you can't heal, and obviously you will probably wipe the raid if you're a tank and you're dead. So
For
just
sure.
do your part. Stay alive, folks.
Yeah, trust me, I really don't like being sacrificed. So I really like to do DPS. I really do.
Yeah,
So-
this getting deeps was dedicated to Stafford.
All right, moving on to our tank and address.
What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress?
This week's Come At Me Tanking Minute. You don't have to be a perfectionist, but of course it helps. I want to talk a little bit about our experience with Vermathrus this last week. It is theoretically an easy tank and spank if you set up where you should be and you just, hit the boss and do your mitigation taunt back and forth, a little classic tank swap. It should be straightforward, right? Well, with the lag that we were having, I was feeling, I don't think this is true, and I'm not putting this on the healers, but I was feeling like I was kind of on my own on that one. In that, I had to self-heal, I had to mitigate, everything had to be utterly perfect. A couple times that it wasn't, even a taunt was late. I think due to server lag, tanks went down. I went down once because I took a couple hits that I shouldn't have, and it was quite unusual and exceptional. But in the meantime, while running on tanking adrenaline, when I wasn't, I was actually paying attention to what was going on with my rotations through my different kinds of defensive cooldowns. Now, as I've talked about before on that particular fight as a tank, you have to keep your active mitigation up. You don't even bother trying to put it up when it's attacking the other tank. Save it for when you're getting hit. I often have to have 2 different repeats on that active mitigation to keep me going. Have to heal just before he's going to do the big hit to top myself out. And then I also need to use one of my personal cooldowns. And I'm getting used to that kind of rotation and the intensity of that. But I did get to thinking, how do you, if you're tanking, prioritize your defensive cooldowns? I started to realize that I have two tools I'm using. Of course, I use key bindings, and so 4 of my cooldowns, including my legendary, I use keys Z, X, G, and 4. But I realized I don't have a sequence that I usually go through. I just kind of figure out whichever one's up and click the next one. I'm also using weak auras to give me kind of a display, but it's missing a couple of my cooldowns lately. So I'm actually having to look all around the screen, and I realized, hey, this is where perfectionism could pay off for me big time. There's no real logic to my setup. I've just kind of developed it as we've been raiding, especially in this expansion. And I'm realizing that I've created some complications for myself. So my goal for next week is to tap into this perfectionism and make sure that I've now got a more logical sequence for being able to, in my week aura, see which personal cooldown is up and when to use that defensive CD in a sequence. And that's Come At Me, a perfectionist's tanking minute.
Awesome. So what you're saying is, stop squealing and more healing. Guys, the healers love it when you rhyme.
Oh my god!
See, they love it.
That was
Anyway,
a virtual strangle over the internet. I heard it.
It was like a Yosemite Sam impression. I
And we're off and running to charity.
Baby, you got the heals. Now healing don't die, 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 die. Healing don't die, 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 die.
Hello! This week's Splash into Heals is healing vocabulary. So, have you ever been in a group and they ask you something and you don't know what the heck they're talking about? Or you read something to get more skills in heals and didn't understand the lingo? This week we're going to go over some great healing vocabulary. The first one is HOTS. HOTS is heals over time effect. They remain on the target instead of instantly healing the target. They heal it slowly. Overhealing. We've already talked about this before. It's the healing wasted by healing the target when they already have full health. Triage healing. Triage healing is the correct group member to heal before others. Sometimes you have to prioritize people who are at greater risk of dying, or if you choose to heal someone that will help the group better than healing Johnny while he is standing in fire. Spike healing. Healing damage that is often unpredictable and sudden. Burst damage. Large amount of damage done in a large amount to the group at the same time. Absorbs. Are shields that take X amount of damage, and instead of the target taking damage, they take the damage. AoE. Area of effect abilities are spells that do healing in a specific targeted area. Utility spells. Utility abilities that do not always do healing or damage, but help in the encounter in some other way, such as an interrupt. Efficiency. How much healing a spell does divided by the mana cost. Slow casts cost less mana, and casting more of these will save your mana versus high throughput spells. Throughput. Defined as how quickly a spell heals. Does the most heals in the short time, but costs the most mana. Regen. Your mana regeneration. Most mana regeneration comes through your class, abilities, and or potions. Proactive healing. Knowledge of damage and patterns in order to anticipate the damage and prepare for those awesome heals. Reactive healing. Healing in response of the incoming damage. So hopefully these words, the next time you hear them, you won't be just nodding along pretending you know what they're talking about. I'll be going over these more thoroughly in the weeks to come, and I will also be posting all of these, if they're not already posted, on our Facebook page so you can go over them yourself. And that has been this week's Flash and Reveal.
think you forgot one.
Yeah.
You forgot Om.
Oh, out of mana.
Out of mana.
That's a good one.
Potato, potato.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I thought you were gonna say the one that is like, why aren't the healers healing?
I just
Where's
didn't
my
get
heals?
enough heals. That's why I died.
I've learned never to say that out loud.
Yeah, I try not to say that either. But when I die, I do look at my combat log to see which people were healing
sometimes
me.
you don't.
Yeah,
You
I've
don't.
done that too.
Well, I get it. I've played a healer character before, and sometimes it's just it's not about keeping the DPS alive. It's about keeping the tanks alive. Some tanks can be very, very squishy. So I get it. All right, next up. It's WFN News, Warcraft Stafford News. The Mage Tower is up next at the Broken Shores with power overwhelming and fell treasures. The weekly event is Battlegrounds. Don't know what that is. Weekly. The WoW tokens are 192k this week in the States. They're creeping up. So I'm thinking that's kind of an anticipation of what's coming up. So anyway, in the last 2 weeks, we missed the Dark Moon Fair, the March of the Tadpoles. If you didn't get out and see that, that was pretty cool. And Noble Garden. And that was all because you guys didn't know because you didn't listen to the podcast last week because we didn't have one. So, and now for the biggest news of all, the Battle for Azeroth. August 14th release date was announced, as if you didn't already know. So, thanks everybody for coming. This has been a great podcast. We did fantastic. We
covered a lot.
Overtime. Yep, we went a little over time, but I think our artist Donna Bell will be able to fill that in. So yeah.
Oh yeah, make sure you guys are watching the YouTube because you're missing out on great art from our artist Annabelle. She's amazing, and she always does a really good job of drawing all of our characters while you get to listen to us.
Yep, and she does. Sometimes she does these neat little intros. She just started one. I guess it's been a couple months back now, where each one of our characters zooms into the video. She's getting a little more creative. So, yeah,
It's pretty awesome.
So I want to thank Charm for all of her beautiful music. Please go visit her website and her YouTube channel. The links are in the description below. Plus BenSound at bensound.com and Vincent Moretto for our heavy metal tavern music. Thanks everybody for coming. We'll see you all next week.
Yep. See ya.
See you, folks.
See ya! Wouldn't want to be ya.
I kissed an orc and I liked it. The taste of his Bulgur chapstick. I kissed an orc just to try it. I hope my ally friends don't mind it. It felt so wrong, it felt so right. Don't mean I'm in love tonight.
Hello! No, we're not going there. And I just messed up the chat. There we go. Alright, now I'm scrolled back in.